Mike had taken the mall Santa job because it was the opposite of everything that haunted his dreams from 15 years of combat flying, peaceful, joyful, focused on making children happy instead of eliminating enemy targets. But when terrorists chose Christmas Eve to attack the mall, he faced every veteran's ultimate test: let innocent kids die to protect his new identity, or become the warrior he'd tried to leave behind. Welcome to Secret Human Stories. Before I tell you this incredible story of hidden military expertise and split-second heroism during a holiday terrorist attack, tell me in the comments if you or anyone in your family or circle of friends has military service background, and if so, what branch or role they served in. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the most lethal warriors are spreading Christmas joy in red suits, waiting for the moment when their deadly training must save innocent lives. December 24th. 2:47 p.m. Westfield Shopping Center's North Pole display was packed with families waiting to see Santa. 7-year-old Emma Martinez was telling Mike about wanting a bicycle for Christmas when the first gunshots echoed through the mall's main concourse. Crack, crack, crack. The distinctive sound of automatic weapons fire cut through Christmas music and holiday chatter like a knife. Mike's Apache pilot training activated instantly: threat assessment, civilian protection, tactical coordination. But he was wearing a Santa suit, surrounded by terrified children, with no weapons and no backup. Get down. Everyone on the ground now. Mike's command voice cut through the screaming as families scattered. His ho-ho-ho was gone, replaced by the battlefield authority of a combat helicopter commander who'd coordinated airstrikes under enemy fire. Through the North Pole display's fake windows, Mike could see 4 armed men in tactical gear moving through the mall with military precision. Professional spacing, coordinated movement patterns, systematic coverage of escape routes. This wasn't random violence. This was a planned terrorist attack during the busiest shopping day of the year. Emma Martinez was crying, clinging to Mike's red coat. Her mother, Maria, was trying to crawl toward the emergency exit with her infant son. Around them, dozens of families were trapped in the Santa display area with nowhere to run and no protection from the advancing gunmen. Mike's military mind was racing. 4 hostiles, automatic weapons, tactical formation. Approximately 200 civilians in immediate danger. Mall security would be overwhelmed. Police response time minimum 8 minutes. Those children would be dead in 3. Maria. Mike grabbed Emma's mother. Take your kids and follow my exact instructions. See that service door behind the gingerbread house? When I say move, you run there and keep going. Don't stop, don't look back. Santa, I'm scared, Emma whispered. Mike looked into her terrified eyes and made the choice that would end his peaceful retirement. Emma, Santa's going to keep you safe. But I need you to be very brave and do exactly what I say, okay? The lead gunman was 50 meters away, methodically searching stores and shooting anyone who moved. Mike had maybe 90 seconds before they reached the North Pole display and started executing children. Mike stood up, his 6 feet 3 inches frame filling the Santa suit, and began removing his fake beard and hat. The families around him watched in confusion as their beloved Santa transformed into someone else entirely. Listen carefully, Mike announced with quiet authority. I'm Colonel Mike Sullivan, United States Army. I'm going to stop these men, but I need everyone to follow my orders exactly. When I engage the hostiles, you move to that service exit and keep running until you reach the parking lot. Maria Martinez stared at him. You're really Santa, right? Ma'am, right now I'm a soldier, and those children are my mission. The first terrorist entered the North Pole area, assault rifle raised. Mike had no cover, no weapons, and was wearing a bright red target that made stealth impossible. But he had something the terrorists didn't expect: 23 years of combat experience and the tactical mindset of someone who'd fought in conditions where mistakes meant dead Americans. Mike's Apache training had taught him that helicopter pilots survived by using terrain, timing, and psychological warfare to overcome superior firepower. A shopping mall wasn't Afghanistan, but the principles were identical. Hey! Mike shouted at the gunman, stepping into the open with his arms spread wide. You want to kill someone? Here's your target. The terrorist spun toward Mike, automatic weapon tracking. But Mike was already moving, using his knowledge of the mall's layout to create angles and opportunities that infantry combat couldn't teach but helicopter warfare had burned into his muscle memory. Mike dove behind a large Christmas tree display as bullets shredded fake snow and ornaments. The terrorist advanced, confident he had trapped an unarmed mall Santa. But Mike was counting steps, calculating angles, preparing for the kind of close-quarters battle that Apache pilots learned for surviving downed aircraft scenarios. The gunman rounded the Christmas tree expecting to find a cowering Santa. Instead, he found 220 pounds of former Army colonel who'd spent decades learning to kill efficiently and without hesitation. Mike's unarmed combat training took over. A brutal combination that disarmed the terrorist and left him unconscious in under 6 seconds. 1 down, 3 to go, and now Mike had an AK-47. But the sound of gunfire had alerted the other terrorists. Mike could hear them coordinating over radio communication, repositioning to surround his location. He had maybe 2 minutes before they overwhelmed his position with superior numbers and firepower. Mike activated his military radio discipline, speaking clearly into his cell phone. 911, this is Colonel Mike Sullivan, Army Aviation, retired. Active shooter situation at Westfield Mall. For hostiles with automatic weapons, I am engaging. Need immediate tactical support and medical response. The 911 operator was confused. Sir, did you say you're engaging? Ma'am, I am a former Apache helicopter pilot, I am armed, and I am eliminating the threat. Advise responding units there is a friendly in a Santa suit. Do not engage the man in red. Mike moved through the mall like the tactical operator he'd once been, using civilian cover and commercial terrain to engage targets with the precision that had made him legendary among Apache pilots. Every shot was calculated, every movement was purposeful, every decision was based on protecting the maximum number of innocent lives. The second terrorist fell to precise rifle fire from a position he never saw coming. The third was eliminated when Mike used the mall's PA system to confuse and misdirect him into a tactical trap. The fourth surrendered when he realized he was facing someone whose combat skills far exceeded his training. 12 minutes after the attack began, it was over. 4 terrorists neutralized, 0 civilian casualties, and 1 mall Santa who'd revealed that his greatest Christmas gift was keeping children safe. When SWAT teams arrived, they found Mike Sullivan sitting on Santa's throne, still wearing his red coat, providing first aid to a wounded security guard while keeping his acquired AK-47 pointed safely downrange. SWAT Commander Captain Rodriguez approached cautiously. Sir, are you the individual who engaged the hostiles? Yes, sir. Colonel Mike Sullivan, 1st Attack Reconnaissance Battalion, retired. 4 hostiles neutralized, no civilian casualties, scene is secure. Captain Rodriguez looked at the tactical precision of the engagement, the professional weapon handling, the efficient neutralization of trained terrorists by a man in a Santa suit. Colonel, what's your background? 23 years Army Aviation, Apache helicopter pilot, 247 combat missions. Today I was Santa Claus until someone decided to hurt children on Christmas Eve. The aftermath revealed that Mike had prevented what would have been the deadliest terrorist attack on American civilians since 9/11. The 4 gunmen belonged to a domestic terror cell that had planned to execute hundreds of Christmas shoppers in a coordinated assault designed to create maximum psychological trauma during the holiday season. FBI Counterterrorism Director Sarah Chen later described Mike's response. Colonel Sullivan's tactical assessment and engagement of the hostile force prevented a mass casualty event. His ability to transition from civilian role to combat operations while protecting non-combatants represents the highest standards of military training and personal courage. But for Mike, the most important moment came 3 days after Christmas, when Emma Martinez and her family visited him at the mall. Santa Mike, Emma said, my mom told me you're a soldier too. Thank you for keeping us safe. Mike knelt down to Emma's level, back in his Santa suit, but understanding now that his military service and his Christmas service were parts of the same mission, protecting American families and bringing hope where there was fear. Emma, sometimes Santa has to be different things for different people. That day, you needed me to be a soldier. Today, you need me to be Santa. And I'll be whatever you need me to be to keep you safe and happy. Now for the background that made this miracle possible. Colonel Mike Sullivan had served 23 years with the United States Army Aviation Branch, specializing in AH-64D Apache Longbow helicopter operations from 1995 to 2018. His military career spanned multiple combat deployments in Iraq, Afghanistan, and classified operations throughout the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Mike's Apache pilot training was among the most demanding in the military. Apache helicopters are 2-seat attack aircraft requiring pilots to master simultaneous flying, weapons systems operation, target acquisition, and battlefield coordination while operating in high-threat environments where enemy forces specifically target American aircraft. During his service, Mike accumulated 247 combat missions, more than 3,400 combat flight hours, and a record of protecting ground forces that made him legendary among infantry units. His specialized training included close air support, deep attack operations, armed reconnaissance, and combat search and rescue missions in conditions where conventional aircraft couldn't survive. The psychological demands of Apache operations were extraordinary. Every mission required Mike to make life-or-death decisions about engaging human targets while providing close air support to American ground forces who depended on his accuracy and judgment for their survival. The responsibility was constant, the technical challenges immense, and the emotional cost of combat accumulated over decades of service. Mike's transition to civilian life in 2018 had been difficult. PTSD from combat operations, survivor's guilt from soldiers he couldn't save despite perfect tactical execution, and the challenge of finding purpose after decades of military service had led him to seek work that provided meaning without triggering combat-related stress responses. The Santa job at Westfield Mall had been perfect therapy. Instead of eliminating threats, he created joy. Instead of coordinating deadly force, he spread wonder and belief. Instead of carrying the burden of combat decisions, he carried the simple responsibility of making children happy during the most magical time of their lives. For 3 Christmas seasons, Mike had convinced himself that his combat skills were artifacts of military service that had no place in his new civilian identity. The gentle grandfather figure who embodied Santa Claus was his true self, and the lethal helicopter pilot was just a uniform he'd put away forever. But some training never retires, especially when it involves protecting innocent lives from people who want to harm them. Mike's Apache pilot skills, tactical assessment, threat engagement, coordination under pressure, protection of vulnerable personnel, were exactly the capabilities needed when terrorists attacked families during Christmas shopping. Mike's story teaches us that military service doesn't end with retirement, it evolves into different forms of protecting American communities. The combat skills that once protected soldiers in foreign wars can protect children in shopping malls when evil threatens the innocent during moments that should be filled with joy and peace. The Apache helicopter pilot who once eliminated enemy threats from the sky found a way to continue that mission on the ground, using his combat training to defend families instead of fellow soldiers. His hands never forgot how to fight, whether they were controlling weapon systems or adjusting Santa hats. Today, Mike Sullivan continues working as Westfield Mall's Santa Claus, but now families know about his military background and appreciate having someone whose combat experience provides security that conventional mall safety measures cannot match. He still creates Christmas magic for children, but he does it with the confidence that his deadly skills remain ready if anyone threatens the innocents he works to protect. Sometimes protection comes from Apache helicopters providing close air support to ground forces under enemy fire. Sometimes it comes from spreading Christmas joy to children who believe in magic and wonder. Sometimes it comes from using military training to stop terrorists who attack families during the most sacred moments of childhood belief. Mike Sullivan learned to provide all 3 forms of service, honoring both his identity as a warrior and his calling as someone who brings happiness to children during Christmas. The mall Santa who used to be an Apache pilot became the holiday hero who still fights for innocent lives when darkness threatens light. The investigation revealed that Mike had prevented Operation Christmas Nightmare, a coordinated attack on 12 shopping malls across the country during Christmas Eve, designed to shatter America's sense of safety during the holiday season. The terrorists had specifically targeted Westfield because of its reputation as a family destination where children visited Santa. They wanted to destroy Christmas innocence by turning a place of wonder into horror that would traumatize survivors for generations. Mike's tactical response had not only saved the lives of everyone in the mall that day, but had also prevented a nationwide wave of copycat attacks that could have fundamentally changed how American families experienced Christmas. His ability to transition from beloved Santa to lethal operator and back to protector of childhood innocence represented the best of American military values applied to civilian protection. 6 months later, General Patricia Hayes, Mike's former commanding officer, visited him at the mall to propose the Guardian Angel program, placing military veterans in civilian jobs at vulnerable locations. Mike, keep being Santa, but help us train other veterans to blend into civilian environments where their skills could save lives, she offered. Mike became the program's trainer, teaching veterans how to maintain civilian cover while staying ready to protect communities. 1 year later, Mike received a letter from Private David Martinez, Emma's brother, who enlisted after witnessing Mike's heroism. Colonel Sullivan, David wrote, "You showed me that being a soldier means protecting people who can't protect themselves. I want to serve like you served." David's letter helped Mike realize that his greatest victory wasn't stopping the terrorists. It was showing a young man that military service and civilian compassion were parts of the same calling to protect and serve American communities. 2 years later, during Christmas 2025, Mike was back on Santa's throne at Westfield Mall when Emma Martinez, now 9 years old, brought her baby sister to meet Santa for the first time. "Santa Mike," Emma said with the wisdom that comes from surviving something terrible, "I know you're not really magic like the North Pole Santa. But you're something better, you're real, and you keep families safe." Mike looked at Emma holding her sister, at the hundreds of families filling the mall with laughter and joy, at the place where terror had tried to destroy Christmas but instead had revealed that some people will always stand between evil and innocence. "Emma, magic is real. It's just different than we thought. Magic is people who choose to protect others even when they're scared. Magic is soldiers who become Santa Claus. Magic is families who come back to places where bad things happened and fill them with love again." As Emma walked away with her family, Mike understood that his transformation from Apache pilot to mall Santa hadn't been retirement from service, it had been evolution into a different kind of guardian angel, one whose mission was protecting not just American lives, but American dreams, American childhood, and American hope. The warrior who once flew Apache helicopters through enemy fire had found his most important battlefield in a shopping mall at Christmas, where the enemy was despair and his weapons were wonder, joy, and the unshakable commitment that some things, like children's belief in goodness, are worth any sacrifice to defend. American families can sleep peacefully knowing that warriors like Mike Sullivan have traded their uniforms for Santa suits but never surrendered their commitment to protecting the vulnerable from those who would destroy their joy and steal their hope during the most wonderful time of the year.